You know, he's really he's shameless in intellectual argument. He's absolutely without character, a moral foundation, or even intellectual substance.
So embarrassing at my birthday dinner the other night. We were mentioning, I think me or Paul brought up like trad cats, and like my friends who were there aren't very online, so they were like, "What's that?" And so we had to endure the humiliation of explaining what a trad cat is. There's another thing too, wasn't there? Like, was it cottage core? We had to explain cottage core. I think we did.
It's possible.
The bonnet lady, remember?
Yeah.
I'm just surprised there were no Taylor Swift fans at the table.
You know what?
There were no Taylor Swift fans at the table. Like,
you would think there would be.
There's too many. There's just too many of them.
They're among us.
They're everywhere. Wow. Congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. On your collection.
You have an exciting dividend,
which is pretty exciting. Who was I talking to the other day? I think it was Ruben. I was like, or maybe it was Rio. I can't remember. It's such a memeable title.
It's good.
It's so easy. It's just so easy.
I've just been doing it to people who haven't heard of it as well. Like, because he's got an exciting life.
Yeah.
We did it at dinner, and I think, I did it at dinner as like, I shouldn't admit that I was doing it at dinner, but I was doing it. And they're like, what? Like, what is this referring to? Very embarrassing.
This entire week of like marketing stuff has been, my one reprieve has been like rereading the book and like thinking to myself, all these students, it must have really exciting and innovative life. Like they're basically like one form or another of that woman from the story where like the title comes from.
Yeah.
Like, fuck it.
Good. I love like flipping to the way the name drop, Redwood Scratch, and it's like there at the top of the page. Oh, that's a gut punch.
It's almost exactly halfway through.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's almost like he's structurally.
Sort of.
Who knows?
It's potential.
On the TV.
All right, so where are we at the moment, Paul? And why have you brought us here?
I don't know if I want to like say the name because I go here and I'm not necessarily.
Oh my god!
Yeah, you know what?
Oh my god! I don't want to.
You know what a DDoS yourself.
It's so popular.
We're in a quaint old trattoria in Little Italy, aka North Melbourne. It's not Little Italy. Yeah, I'm gonna have a fine meal.
Yes, it's very traditional, very old. It's run by older Italian ladies.
I feel like I'm reverting to childhood, just sitting
Yeah,
a little bit.
and they lean into that too. They love it.
Wow, we just had
We just had them undressing Rio, so
Yeah, it was so nice. That has never happened to me in my life.
specifically with the words "let mama do it."
Let mama help you. Let mama help you. Something. Yeah.
if you're good to mama, mama's good to you.
Well, you know what? I love mums. I'm a mum guy. Mummies. Daddy is over. It's time for mummy.
Mum buds.
Mum buds. What's your favorite Italian dish, please? Tell me.
My favorite dish, or like
Do you
what's my
come here-
favorite
do you
dish
come here
on
a lot?
this? I do.
Okay, gorgeous.
Do you eat meat?
I hate everything. I'm an everything kind of guy.
Rio loves me.
The veal parmigiana is very good. It's particularly good.
You feel like baby meat.
I do like babies.
Continuing in that trend, the veal al masala is also good. And I like the tortellini and the garlic prawns.
The garlic prawns, classic.
Garlic prawns.
Prawns.
Oh, prawns. I worked in an Italian restaurant for too long. I don't know if that's too long. I liked working at the Italian restaurant. I didn't like the customers.
How long was too long?
A year and a half.
It's a while.
It was a long time. It was my COVID job.
Alright, yeah.
It was my post the first lockdown, get the first job I could possibly get for 6 months, and then 9 months later I was like, what am I doing here? And then lockdown 2 hit. So I stayed.
How fancy, like on what scale? Like Italian social club or like fine dining?
It was Sydney. It's Sydney, so it doesn't matter what it is. The customer base expects fine dining.
Okay. So is that a Sydney thing? Is it?
Yeah, I think so.
Do you expect the same with your dining? Like you're gonna make trouble tonight?
Oh, excuse me. Absolutely not. It was kind of like on the border of the suburbs. So people from the outer suburbs came to it expecting a fine dining experience.
Yeah.
People from the inner suburbs were like, oh, why would I go there when I have fine dining everywhere? But it was more like a family restaurant. It had a crisis of identity. There's a bar there, and the owner really wanted it to be like a hip happening bar, but like we were selling.
Reality was different.
Right, I did have that.
I could have made a bad segue there about Paul's stories about like delusions versus reality, but
Let's order the food first.
Is this the best way to have the no.
yeah, because one's pointing that way and one's pointing this way.
So we get both me and Paul and not Louis to
No, it'll pick us all up. That's a recorder. We're recording a podcast. Would you like credit? I can credit
You won't get paid for it.
Yeah, you won't.
We don't get paid either, so it's fine.
Just say what good service we have at Moretti.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. Next one's good. Yeah, we don't edit this in.
This is the cotoletta.
With salad?
Can I pick up the avila al masala?
Yeah, salad.
Does that mean salad?
I'll do the veal parmigiana.
Can I get the fettuccine pesano? Fettuccine pesano.
Fettuccine?
Pesano.
Paisano? Do you guys want garlic bread? Thank you. Any more beers?
Good for now. I'm a little more relaxed now and relieved.
Because you ordered the food.
Yeah.
The food's on its way.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it all day today. Yeah.
You were thinking about this food.
It was.
All day.
This is the 6th day in a row I've had pasta now.
Whoa.
So
student life.
No, because I made like a slow cooked shredded beef ragu on Sunday, and I just had like a fuck ton of leftovers for it, so I just had it for lunch every day. So pasta's good.
Yum.
I've learned that I can cook somewhat. So.
Well done. You've become a man.
I'm the mum of our household. So.
What is that household?
Oh, it's me and my friend.
Okay.
So it's
Expecting like an intricate
No.
polycule.
no, he's barely even home. He's barely even home. It's yeah. More of like a mum and a son, but like the son's also the dad as well. So it's
Sounds very Tasmanian.
it's very Tasmanian.
I don't have any issues with that.
You're an open guy.
Live and let live.
Yeah, like family structures deserve to be reevaluated.
Who cares about genetic deformity?
The more Freudian, the better. I think.
So this is the first time we've all been in the same space together.
Literally, I feel like I should hug you.
Yeah. Well, when I picked Rio up from the airport yesterday, and we hugged very vigorously, I I crushed my sunglasses. We were both like,
Like, there's that ethnic like life that's like coming.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Wagwan.
We can have a hug then.
Yeah. There's plenty of time for us.
Plenty of time to hug.
The night is young.
When's the book coming?
Yeah, Tuesday.
God,
I'm so excited.
Very close.
it's very fucking good.
I love it.
It's also really fucking depressing. Like, holy shit.
I remember actually, because I went back through our history together,
Yeah.
and I remember when you were first telling me about the collection, and like you had an alternate title for it, which was even more depressing.
Yeah, well,
I can't remember what it was though.
I know what it was. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, can we do a reveal?
Yeah, it's fine. It's almost always empty.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer the empty title.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
I actually think now that I've read the collection, actually of the two, an exciting and vivid inner life is more depressing.
Yeah.
But like because it's like when you read that line in that story, like it gives you. It's ironic, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the perfect place for that line as well.
Yeah.
Like that story is just. I can't tell if that's my favorite one or Short Stack is. Like, Short Stack's is the most depressing story of all of them. Like, it's so. I think I was saying to you before. Like, at least most of the other characters, at least they've got some capacity for self-reflection or self-understanding of their situation.
Yeah.
And that guy just does not. And it's just.
It's just very young.
Yeah, but also like it's just amazing. But that's important because those people exist.
I know,
And they're,
I know.
they're hardly ever sort of like. I don't want to do like representation, but they're hardly ever like represented. Like people who actually don't have that capacity, like that, they don't have the capacity to sort of grow in the way that they perhaps want to.
And it's also representative of like this is why like obviously autofiction is like just inherently like false because you could never like that person could never represent themselves in a fiction in that way.
Yeah, no, I don't think they have the capacity.
They just have the capacity to do it, right? But like the story's not like it's unbelievably sympathetic and unbelievably like you start off like maybe laughing a little bit, and but the further it goes, like the more like the sadder it gets or the more depressing it gets, and it's just like there's no sense of like I am better than this person or this person's like it's all sympathy like all the way through. It's like that's why it's good because like you feel as though you're in that person's head, and or you feel as though you feel the lack of being in that person's head.
Yeah, well, I think it's a thing though where it's like if you do have a character that's sort of like that, you know, even though there are things that happen to the characters that are sort of funny and you're sort of making fun of them, I don't think it's not really making fun of them in a demeaning way. I think it's more of just trying to show their life and the sort of contradictions and the ridiculousness around it. And it's not, I don't know, I don't go out of my way to be like nice and tender or something, but I think it's like just paying attention sort of thing given up with that.
I mean, the comedy is more a reflection on the reader than it is a reflection on the character.
Yeah.
Right? So if anything, you laugh at it, and you realise that you really shouldn't be laughing at it because it's actually not that funny. Like I think that's where the comedy.
How would you do with that character? Like,
Yeah,
he's
really. With that character, because I mean, the other characters at least like they have at least some degree of like responsibility, or like they have the capacity to be responsible for their actions at least somewhat. They could make a change in their lives, whereas he's like the most victimized by the system. He's the most like unable to even be responsible for his actions, which is like that's why it's like
I mean, the only character in the collection who doesn't have any form of like education.
yeah.
He's like a very like working class job. You know, he's just like he's a dish pig.
Well, it's the fact that like whenever he's a watcher, and then when he does actually do something else, it's a disaster.
Yeah.
Like, and it's
Oh my god. Poor boy.
oh
I
Christ.
love him.
It's funny that you mentioned Tender before because like I've noticed that a lot of the the few reviews that I've seen of the book like always use that word. I think it was maybe in the marketing copy or something. But it's almost like they're using that to offset the kind of like depressing nature of some of the stories, and like I feel like, is that a code? Not from your point of view. I mean from more like the reviewers. Like, are they just trying to put like a spin on it to make it more? I don't know.
I think there's an element which is like it's really hard to sell bleak things in our environment.
Not to me. I fucking love bleak things.
Yeah, no, I do too. But especially post-COVID, that sort of seems to be. Yeah, I think the collection was going out for like TV rights or something. Like there was like I won't go into details, but there was like a big agent that was like, oh, I love the stories, and there are other reasons, but also like having something bleak like this in this market is really really tough right now. So I think that partially there's that market thing. So if someone's giving it a nice review, they want to kind of not scare away readers.
They want to bevel off the edges.
Yeah.
Well, it's more why they emphasise like the comedy of it as well. Like,
Totally.
Because it does have edges, I think. Like,
And I think there is a quality that it's like, I think sometimes it's funny, like Tinder's a really, really funny word because it's like it's associated with like Tinder queer or soft
and that's
boy
that's the
or
other thing I was going to say
Yeah.
is that like they always use that with gay themed stuff, like stuff that involves a lot of gay.
Yeah.
I've noticed.
And I think you can spend a lot of time analysing that and seeing how you fit into that. But it's like there is an element that the stories can be really, really harsh. But then I think there is this thing which is almost like sustained attention on the characters makes them maybe not likable, but is somehow charitable to them, which is maybe what I think comes across as tender or warm. Though I don't particularly see that myself. But it's also not up to me to decide how people, react to it or describe it.
Probably depends on the story as well.
Yeah.
Like there are some stories where it's like, you know that short stack that we've been talking about, where the like.
I'm just like, what do you find relatable about short stack? Is that you?
Oh, I don't know.
Is that you?
No, I'm not. It's not me.
Why do you love it so
I just like pancakes, okay? I just really like the band Short Stack. I just keep thinking
Well, I don't know if I should dox.
Dox your friend.
I'll see you later.
But I think it's like there's a difference between like some characters who are sort of bad people in some sort of like inherent way versus the characters who are maybe more like the guy in Short Stack, where it's like the critique is of the system itself, if there is a critique, not of the characters within that system. They're victims of the system. I think there are examples of that, like where that maybe isn't the case, but more often than not, that's probably the.
I think that's true in Short Stack, and that it's like, but it's like everywhere where it's like, there are predatory lenders or there's things like that or there's systems. And I think what's interesting about him is he maybe takes things very, very literal. So when he sees like an advertisement, he really does kind of believe this thing. And there are certain things like can't be too against Tender, like we're a character that can't even like kill someone in Grand Theft Auto.
But oh my god, okay. Those Grand Theft Auto scenes in particular are some of the funniest things.
What did you say?
The Grand Theft Auto scenes in that.
Oh my god.
Like I'm so glad you ended like the ending of the story is so perfect. Just the fact that it's like it's him in Grand Theft Auto, and it's like that small moment of like I was certain reading the story that it was going to end like really obviously bleak, like with some moment with like the deck collectors, like Bart, or something like that. But it's even more depressing almost to give that small moment of like hope when the reader knows so obviously more than he does what the next like 5 pages of the story could have been or will be. Like, in other words, you should read the story. Not everything. Right. But
why short stack? Yeah. Our very own homegrown emo band. Everyone's favourite mid-2000s boys from Newcastle.
it's the first American.
Sorry, Central Coast.
It's the first American story in this collection.
I don't think that one's set in America.
I think it's American.
Oh, okay. I just got like I feel like my mind goes from like 24/7 pancake parlor. It has to be American. That was all
So
mine.
only at Brisbane.
Well, maybe that's it.
Yeah, because that was the only place that was open 24/7.
Yeah, it was the only place. Shout out to the Pancake Manor, Brisbane CBD.
This is not a reflection of me more than anything.
No, but there's also a thing like that's not a. Often, unless the geography is really, really specified, some of the stories aren't really clear, and partially that's because I think like globalization makes everywhere kind of similar.
100%.
And then there's also the thing that like I'd be writing these stories, and then I wouldn't know if I would be trying to sell them in America or the UK or Europe or here. So we kind of that indeterminacy was kind of maybe partially.
And that goes to like it's like
Market demand's affecting art. Wow.
like the difference.
Really weird.
The difference between you've ever heard that like that contrast between somewheres and anywheres, and now everyone is anywhere. So like literally that story could have been anywhere. Like
It's like the McDonaldization of society.
And it's like funny sometimes the things that, overseas, like there are certain Australianisms that you don't even realise are an Australianism. It's weird.
I was just going to highlight the irony of the fact that you sold the book to a British publisher, right, first, before an Australian one?
No, they were both at the same time. Yeah, they were the same day. Same day.
Roasted. You guys sit roasted by your publisher. This is a good thing. This is a bad, positive element.
I'm not even going to say that.
They make you so...
Wow, you're so popular, Paul. I can't
It's like doing a marketing? What's it like doing a promo? Like, you've been in promo mode for like several weeks now. More than weeks, but...
Yeah, it's
I
like...
think this is the first time we've ever... Sorry, I've spoken to someone about their work.
Well, I have
Which is exciting.
spoken to
Bad, but
that's long listed of work.
promo's interesting and like weird because it's like you write a book and then it's actually quite a long time before it comes out, and then you sort of. This is like Gary Indiana line in his essay collection I just read, Fire Season, where he's like, the artist is like usually the worst person to talk about the work and why they've made the work, because mostly they don't remember the work, and whenever I have to talk about my work, I play take a stab in the dark, and that's, I guess what you're doing, and then, I don't know, it's interesting too, because I think I've spent a lot of time publishing overseas while living in Melbourne, and in Melbourne I was very like anonymous, like I wasn't really doing writers festivals, I wasn't doing talks, everything like that, and then so something would come out and it would kind of be cool because nobody would like think of me or do anything, and now all of a sudden I have to like, I don't know, answer for my crimes of being an author.
I like the memes though. You're doing very well at the shit posting. It's great.
Yeah, it's something. I don't know. Half the time they don't even make any sense. Like, there's really no rhyme or reason.
it's such a, like, I think I was saying about yesterday, like in the era of everyone having like a sentence long title, like, I watched a video about like Chumbawamba the other day, and like their first album title is something like a piece of corporate art that we've sold ourselves for, something like that. But it's very silly and funny, and like it feels very satirical. it's meta-modern. It straddles line between sincerity
You
and
need to
irony.
let go of that word.
No, I'm holding on.
It's academic.
I'm
now.
holding on.
There are meta-modernists out there, baby.
They're among us at the table.
We're impressive. Touchdown.
So this is a meta-modern Italian restaurant.
Sorry, a postmodern. Is that better?
Yeah.
It's much worse.
I mean, these really are postmodern stories.
If you think about it.
Wow. Wait, so where was Chihuahua?
I love the way his mind works. I love it. I'm genuine. I love the way your mind works.
I just like I love. It wasn't to you. It was to Peter. I was with my friend Peter. The other day. I was yelling at him. I was like, I really hate how everything. I was talking about the book. I was like, I really love it. It's really good. And the title is like a sentence, and like I'm really sick of the sentence on titles. I love to like mock them, but it's like because this title is mocking all of the characters in the book. Well, most of the characters. I would say this is my interpretation. This is just my interpretation. And like as we said, as you read through it and I'm a big believer that art touches people. It speaks about yourself. And as a millennial, it feels so. You finish every story and you come back to the title and you're like, this is the first page of the book. Like the title is like. Very few times, I feel like it's very rare to find a title that really encapsulates everything that the book represents. As I was reading through it, I didn't realize that a lot of the stories had been just published because it feels like they tell a story about society as you go through, and it feels very connected. I think part of the beautiful style, which is that almost all the stories are non-conclusive, and also non-climactic.
Usually we love climax on this.
So no, but we're all just taking up our limp dicks until we collectively have limp dick as a generation.
What we're saying is Paul's writing is like meth.
It's very exciting.
And maybe go with edging.
Put that on the cover. These will make you edge.
Lovely.
I feel that gays overseas.
Girls Gone Wild.
Girls Gone Wild, yeah. Girls Gone Wild. When you bring in a reality TV show about famous women, that is the Real Housewives.
That shall remain nameless.
Sorry. When they're watching it on their holiday instead of enjoying their holiday, it's so
that actually reminded me of when I was traveling with a friend of mine who was gay. And we were And where were we? We were, I think in Austria or somewhere, and I wanted to go to Sigmund Freud's fucking office,
Fucking offers or he's fucking offers?
Yeah. It's like a museum. And my friend was like, oh no, I've got to watch the new Drag Race. And so he stayed in the hotel watching the new Drag Race while I went and saw Vienna. Rio has a very judgmental face right now. As everyone knows, Rio does not watch RuPaul's Drag Race.
That must be so freeing. Seeing psychically.
I believe in you. You can make it. You can do that too. You can have what I have.
Okay, real masala,
Thank you so much.
fettuccine paisana.
Thank you.
we just got food delivered to the table. Like that's it.
Yeah,
I actually shop at Aldi. I'm very happy. Love these girls.
Pio Parmigiana.
She's a star. We have to have her on
I
again.
told you it was the place to go. Yeah, it was the place to go.
Where are we going?
Where are we going?
Yeah, we're-
Going to Joe Taylor's. It's just one
Joe
more block.
Taylor's.
I really wish you were recording when that girl said, "My dad is such a narcissist."
yeah, we need proper like audio from people who aren't us.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like in the background.
Well, we got the waitress later.
Yeah, yeah. Even just like spliced in like during the like intermission section in the middle.
Yeah.
It's like the sounds.
I don't do
the sounds
intermissions
of
anymore
Melbourne.
because I'm too lazy. Like,
You just put them all at the end.
well,
It's
because
just the outro.
yeah, because I'm like, you gotta like source the stuff and like you
Yeah.
gotta think of an idea that would be smart, and then I'm like,
The interstitial stuff.
yeah,
Like, unless
and
it's,
then
like,
I'm like,
very
let's
obvious,
just go
then-
through.
There's something that's like very obvious you can put there. Then it's like
Yeah. Should we just go in?
What is outside as well?
Cocktails and pizza.
Yeah. Cocktail pizza.
Cocktail pizza. Ooh. I wonder if you could like congeal it.
Well, there's margarita.
Booking for Paul.
Oh.
Is that?
Yeah, cool. That's really the start of the podcast.
Paul. Who is she?
Who's Paul?
Tell us about Paul.
Paul's really talented. I love Paul.
Yeah.
Paul's this really cool writer. He's really groovy.
Have you read the
He's dressed all in black, obviously, because he's a Melbourne writer.
But like comfortable booth.
Yeah.
So
Ooh.
yeah. Like a booth, maybe not as much space as you would have wanted.
Thank you.
What have you been?
What?
Have you been taking samples?
Oh, it's for our podcast.
It's for your
Yeah,
podcast. Is it a?
We're incredibly wankers, but like massive wankers. But yeah.
It's your podcast. What do you podcast about?
Books.
Books. Oh, at least subject. What type of books?
His.
He's
This is Paul.
It's Paul.
Hi, Paul.
What's your book about, Paul?
What's your book about? Paul?
This one's very collection of like young people dumb.
Yeah, it's very relatable.
Young, dumb, and full of
It's
charm,
very
right?
It's really fucking good.
He's really good.
Cool. Are you gonna be alright with 3 minutes after down the
No, this is good.
I'm gonna
Sorry, did I embarrass you?
You're
Everything
like,
is embarrassing.
You're like a Sky Ferreira. Your like blushy face is very. It's very cute. So,
Yeah. I'm sure that's
Yeah, no, but that's what I was saying.
Well, it should be fun. The only thing is that when you like move it. So what's good here, Miley? Miley, what's good?
They used to have.
That's a really old
drinks that
reference.
It's a really old reference. They used to have cocktails that were all based on specific fashion outfits.
Oh,
So they
like a
had like,
Dior or...
like a YSL smoking jacket.
Oh,
a Chanel
nice.
suit.
Do they no longer exist?
No, they no longer exist. And I try and order them. They like look at me like a madman.
So can we name this place or...
Yeah. I don't come here.
I never come here, so we can talk about it. Joe Taylor's. It says Oscar and Joe's on the menu.
So there was a pizza place next door, and then during COVID they consolidated. I think. Yeah.
And We love market capitalization on this podcast.
Rio said to me yesterday that I had an alt-right haircut. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Wait, what's your haircut?
an alt-right haircut.
It's just a gay hair.
wait, are you saying that the alt-right is gay? What? Who would have thought?
There might be.
Well, they've got Douglas Murray.
They should be.
If they have that hair.
I mean, Richard Spencer, you know.
What do you think
He's not gay, he's just a faggot.
I haven't heard things, but I have seen things.
Why do you think they call it alt-right? The alt means alt sexuality, right?
Oh, yeah, of course. I'm not saying that, you know, I'd get with Richard Spencer. I'm saying he would get with me.
Just to clarify.
Just to clarify. He's got a beautiful and vivid life. Beautiful and vivid life.
Have a tap spritz.
A tap spread.
A tap spray.
Just get like a standard. Like, I'm gonna be boring and like just get a whiskey sour.
I want a tap spritz.
I'm partial to a Chambord spritz.
Actually, that's a good idea. I might do that. Espresso martini.
What does Chambord taste like?
Cherry.
Cherry. Yeah.
Oh, no. I was asking.
It's raspberries.
I think it's cherry, isn't it? No?
It's not. It's definitely not cherry.
Some kind of berry.
Yeah.
Yeah, just raspberries.
Raspberry, yeah.
It's beautiful.
It's alright.
It's berry flavored. Milo seems berry.
It's always in a nice bottle. It looks like the Queen's little
You
orb.
have no idea how annoying it is to pull out of. Like, especially when you're in a rush, like, you can't take whatever.
Okay, I won't get this.
So we'll get 5 with the ham. We'll get 5 with the No, I appreciate your candor. I love when I love
I mean, we put it into, like, easier bottles to make it faster. So, you know, think around it.
smart girls.
Can I try that pale ale?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one on top, the...
Yeah. The Fat Shepherd.
What is
Could
it?
I get espresso martini, please?
And I'll get that.
Yeah. Do you want, like, the standard vodka, or do you want to try, like, a spiced rum? It's quite good.
Yeah, I'll try this.
Yeah.
I get
French orange. It's like a Jaffa.
Vaguely, but not really.
Really?
I don't know. Have you ever tried it?
No. Alright, I'll try it.
What is it? What?
Espresso martini with burnt orange and spiced rum.
Oh, that sounds really good.
It is.
But I don't like espresso martinis usually, but that sounds good. Maybe I'm gonna have a sip of yours and see if I like it. I don't know. I'm gonna go with tap spritz. I don't know what TAP is, but I'll find out.
I bet you got talked down from getting like something, whatever, to getting like I just get a pale ale.
I love it.
Because I'm trying not to get drunk.
Oh,
Don't hold back, Paul.
not bad.
You need to get loose.
We need content.
You need someone cancelled.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's not what I'm worried about. It's just that when I am drunk, I just make these like very large pronouncements that then 5 minutes later I'm like, no, that doesn't make any sense.
Do you know what a podcast is?
I don't ever make big pronouncements. I don't know if
I'm pretty sure we've said the book's dead, haven't we?
I think it's the risk is when there's the mystery that you have no recollection of what you have said.
And you don't like listening back, do you?
No,
So,
no.
So it's
No,
a gamble
refuse
for you. Why did you agree to this?
Yeah.
It's questionable.
Because it was funny and random and like all that.
You gotta sell books, baby.
Yes.
It's all about capitalization of the market.
Absolutely. Thank you. Because Mishima was great.
I have no recollection of what I said.
Nor should
It's a
you.
very good episode. Had very intelligent, astute things to say. About,
Sophisticated one.
about
also.
Shane, yeah. So, should be very proud.
I want the new book, the UFO one.
Yeah, that sounds really
Stars.
good.
There's a new Mishima book?
Yeah.
What?
Just been translated.
Oh. You mean all of its work hasn't been translated yet?
No.
Really?
He's really, he just published a lot of stuff.
Oh.
He's
prolific. Mishima Part 2.
Mishima Part 2.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I love that. Would love another excuse to read. 'Cause I like half listened to it again, just be like, who's Paul? Who the fuck is this guy that was there? I don't remember. I know he was. And I was like, oh yeah, I like that was the best movie I watched last year. Absolutely.
I still haven't listened to that. No, I think I read like the first part of the book and I
Yeah. Do you read a lot? Do you find that you read a lot, or do you like read far less now?
I read far less now.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of writers I know just like don't read anymore, or like they read significantly less than this.
Do you have the annoying thing that people say when they're working on something like, I can't read anything else because it's going to influence me?
No, it's not that.
You could almost turn that the anxiety before.
Yes. Alright, we will do Harold Bloom. Fucking hell.
No, it's like not bad. It's like you spend like, you know, an entire. Well, I don't spend an entire day writing. It's like 3 hours writing and looking at a screen, and then afterwards
It's
it's
just
just.
3 hours. Any more than 3 hours is too much.
But like afterwards, I just don't necessarily feel like reading as much. And then like I read a lot of like media criticism and philosophy and stuff like that. But yeah, fiction not as much. But I also think it's hard because it's like there's so many books coming out all the time.
All the time.
And everyone always has like, you know, the copy that's like, this is the best book ever. Like, spoiler, mine's pretty good.
It's so true.
But you just
It's
don't like
so
fucking,
true.
you can't believe anything, and then you start something and it's just awful. And I'm really like picky about sentences. If like sentences are bad, I just don't want it.
Sentences are bad.
No, I'm picking out sentences.
Right.
If the sentences are shit on the first page, I'm like, what am I doing?
Resist modernity. Embrace the canon. So you don't have to write new books anymore, right?
It's so interesting.
But do you read a lot?
Yes. Now.
Yeah.
You know, I'm gonna shock you. I've never read a book in my life.
Oh. No, I think that you both probably read a lot more than I do. That as a function of your work, maybe.
Yeah, that's my job. So I have
Good job. Whereas, like, I watch a lot of TV and watch a lot of movies and play a lot of video games, and I'm at the theater a lot. Speaking of
We won't name it because
no,
I can't even remember the name.
I do.
What was it about?
It was in.
What was bad about it? You don't have to
It was
identify.
like so much. Like it was clearly
it's about
like
everything, you know. It's about the world. It's about life.
the writer was like trying to be like. I think the writer fancied themselves the next Shakespeare because like it was very like overwrought and like kind of faux poetic and was some of it in verse? Like it seemed to have that rhythm.
Yeah, so some of it was in reverse. Some of it like
No, verse.
in verse.
Right.
Sorry.
Power
Maybe.
verse.
Power verse. Some of it was that one guy. The Nazi.
There's a Nazi?
Well,
East German?
yeah.
Okay, alright.
He was wearing Nazi reminiscent.
Alright,
Yeah.
Trad Nazi.
Yeah, there we go.
yeah, okay.
And it was just sort of like it was overwritten. That was the main problem. And the actors were really trying their best.
They were doing their best.
They were doing their best.
So
with the
hard.
material,
I must
it
say
was
too
just sort
hard.
of like relentless, you know, when something is like really, it's hard. It's weird explaining like a script as purple prose, but it was purple prose.
That's even worse.
Yeah, to perform. And it was just like, oh god. And it was kind of overbearing.
It was a lot. It was like a. a time travel narrative of a sort. Just someone had a wet dream about 1984 one day, and splooged all over the stage.
Okay.
We were originally going to see something in a Malt's house, but then I looked up the tickets and they were like $90.
$90.
We were both like, fuck that.
So hard. Live theatre is so good, and I'm blessed to have beautiful friends who quite often have free tickets and like, you want to come? I'm like, yeah. And then I just like the value of theatre is never like apparent in my mind. I'm like, I'll just go, and I'm like, no, I'm not going to go see theatre.
No show is worth like $100 unless it's like a big musical.
Well, I mean, I disagree with you there. I just feel like it's just like reading. It's all hedonism. Like we're all just going there to like, you know, massage our brains with like beautiful thoughts and images, and like. If you can afford to pay $90 for it, then I would absolutely pay $90 for it.
But can you afford to pay that?
No, but lots of people can. Well,
That's true. A lot of people can.
I mean, under capitalism, lots of people do, whether they can or not.
Thank God for that.
Thank God for that. Under capitalism.
Under capitalism, you buy Paul's new book for how much is it at retail price?
It's actually cheap at the moment.
Pre-order boys and girls. Pre-order boys and girls.
I don't know what the price. I actually don't know. I don't need to know that.
You just didn't know the commission.
I actually don't know that.
Have you
I
ever
have an agent.
Have you ever genuinely interacted with a cat therapist?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I didn't have the session, but I was researching. Yeah.
Oh.
Cat
That's
had a
fun
lot
research.
of
Are you going to claim on tax?
emotional issues. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, we did. I did have a cat. Well, I still have the cat, but yeah, it just kept attacking our housemate. Really
For reference, here is a story about a cat.
A crazy cat, a demon cat.
Demon cat. Well, a demon owner?
I don't know. It's questionable. I think it's hard because I think in my mind, when I think of the story, I often just think of my cat, and I'm very affectionate towards my cat. Yeah, you know, he's violent, but it's like questionable. Like, what is it that's making him violent? Like, is that, you know, was it brought up well? What could be that? What's their material living situation? You know, what's the environment?
Yeah. Did the cat have loving parents? What was adopted?
The cat could have had gay parents. This could explain a lot.
Whoa! That's society. We live in a society.
It's a slippery slope.
The most boring thing I can say about that story is that I have a cat, but it attacked my housemate.
Did the housemate move out?
No, we moved. Yeah, no.
Good.
Yeah, it was really unrelenting. It was pretty close to the story. I was teaching and I couldn't leave my house under any circumstance.
Oh. Is this a COVID story?
No. That was a few years ago now, like 4 years, something like that, 3 or something, yeah. A lot of the stories are quite old. Yeah. Not that that's that old, but yeah.
It feels like.
Tired.
It feels fresh.
Oh, sorry.
Publishing short stories though, like what's the deal with that? That's not a thing anymore, is it? How did you manage that?
How did I manage publishing?
Short story collection.
Yeah. People don't publish those.
Yeah, so
Or if they do, they're like, oh, you know.
we don't like short stories. It's collection.
That too, actually.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, collections are a hard sell. They are. I experienced that mainly in the United States, but that's where it's really tough. Here and the UK was pretty good. Like my book sold at auction here and there. But I also think that part of that is like where I've been published, that I've been nominated for an award. It's like that sort of stuff. Yeah, I don't know. It maybe opens a door for you, and then people can read the book, and then sort of decide. And I think it's also helpful that the collection's pretty. It's not interrelated, but it's all sort of together. So I think that can sort of sway people.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say as well. That's what Ria was saying before. Like, it feels like interconnected in a way. Even though it's not really a short story suite, it's kind of like there's a vibe there.
Absolutely.
A vibe shift.
It doesn't feel as though you've written these stories over the course of 7 or 8 years. It does really. It coheres very well.
I'm glad. Well, I think it's like a part of that's probably that I like always actually wanted it to be a collection, so it was really mindful of how would they connect, and then when it got to a stage that there was like maybe half of the stories, you're sort of thinking about how does another story like complicate something in an earlier story. So a lot of them are kind of have connections. Like in one story, it's like someone wants to be an actor, and then in another one, it's a famous actress, or sort of things like that. Or someone wants to be teaching writing, and then someone's teaching art, but it's never really what they actually think it's going to be or what they want. So you're sort of thinking of, I don't know, how do those like echoes, or how does it work as like, I don't know, like a 3-dimensional, like 4-dimensional object, maybe.
I kind of like as well, like this works as like contrast with different stories in the collection, is that every story is written in a style that is reflective of the different character within that story. So like, there's a reason why the story is in the present tense is in the present tense and the other ones aren't, right?
Yeah.
There's a reason why stories are written in the first, like the story with the guy who wants to be famous and be an actor, it's written in the first person, he's a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
Like, there are like things like that where like they aren't almost obviously aren't made for no reason. And that like works a lot better in that sort of story collection where you can have the whole right, you sort of that develops out.
Yeah, I think normally it does occur naturally. Sometimes you'll sort of twist it and change it. I think most of the earlier stories written, I was doing a lot of like first person, and then later on I was sort of, I guess, trying third person more and kind of liking that, and then just seeing what different effects you can do for it. But it's like there is that thing that you do kind of want to have like a unity of effect. Like it's not just random that something comes out how it comes out. It's got to cohere. And it can be quite flippant, but like they go through a lot of drafting, and I think it's about cutting what needs to be cut, compressing what needs to, and sort of moving it. And you're the author, so you're in control, and like that is a responsibility that if something's shit, it's because of you. It's not because of anything else.
No, it's just society. That's why.
Story daddy.
We're all victims of capitalism.
Yeah, but it's like, it's funny. But I don't think I like sit down and it's like as maybe like simple as me thinking like, oh, this person's like and this person's a narcissist. It can be, it can change a bit, but then sometimes you can kind of have fun and do jokes or sort of like puns, like even in that. I feel its story, it's like there's very little delineating between the other characters other than their names. Like, they're all sort of the same person.
Totally.
Even when we talk about the stories tonight, like
Thank you.
Like that was the thing I noticed. Like, talking about it, I cannot remember a single name from any of the stories, but I can remember the stories like very vividly. Yeah, the names just do not stick at all. Apart from like one particular story, which I won't spoil for readers. It's kind of
okay, yeah. That took me a second.
I think there's kind of, I guess, like
The Bad Shepherd Pale.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
Put that right down right.
Cheers. I love to Cheers. So bring back plastic straws.
Amen to that.
I really don't find names that important.
I think it depends. Like obviously, they're important for like a picture, where like the name is like just some sort of joke anyway. It's like, I feel like for most real stories now, like if the name is like too obviously linked to the theme of the story or whatever, if it's false and fake anyway.
Yeah, the artifice is too.
It works for like a sort of postmodern story where the art, like you're supposed to be artifice is the point of the story, but you see that in like a lot of like 19th century literature, even like early 20th century stuff, where like there's so obviously like that name in Latin or in Greek means something
means like the
that's
vice or the
it's like,
But like I like the names in Dickens, for example.
well, but Dickens is kind of like proto-postmodern.
Yeah. So but they're not always like that. They're just sort of vivid.
I think a name can be
They're indicative of
important.
the inner life.
I think it's very easy in a short story to have characters who aren't named. There are certain characters that you never know their name.
And I think the story about the woman who's the one that's in the present tense, and she's just called the woman.
Yeah.
She works in a call center. Like that one, I think stood out. I think that was one of my favorite stories. I think one of them that stood out was because of the fact that it felt very appropriate that of all the stories she wasn't named. That she didn't need to be named. Like it felt like more appropriate that story than any other ones.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's all about, what is that story? And it's not, I don't know, I'm like the worst person to analyze my own stories because it's like I can, obviously when I'm writing them, you like think about all of these things to this like really intense extent. But then when I don't know, it's like a black box. You don't want to like reveal everything. Something I will say is that what I find is important in a name when it's not a conceit, so it's not the woman is like a narrative conceit or whatever. But if I do have a name, because each sentence is really reliant on the phonics of the sentence, if I then change someone's name, it really fucks with everything. So I have to find a name that that's tricky. Because I actually think there were two Sams in the collection. It was like, and I was like, why is that? And they were in two stories that were like right after each other. I was like, what's going on?
I remember we've spoken about this before, but also I think you were quoted talking about this, that like short stories being like, get in, get out, like do everything you need to do and get out as soon as possible. And I feel like a whole heap of names kind of hinder that.
Yeah.
Like, because it's all about the effect, like, rather than a big long narrative that you would get in like a novel or something like that.
Totally.
And for a marketing perspective, you need to be able to see yourself in the story.
Well, that's why you should have written in second person.
But that would really be more.
Second person is just first person, though. This is my album.
That's a title of like
Is there always an implied first?
Yes.
Always?
Yes, because the person who is narrating is the first person, but they're talking to you. So if I said, like, you did this, referring to you, that's me hiding the fact that I'm the first person.
You know what? This is the literary theory part of the podcast. I'm giving it, okay? Let's get down to brass tacks.
Yeah.
What's the meaning of meaning?
But that's a version of like some rants I went on about like implied narration or something like that.
Yeah, like when groups implied or
Yeah.
Did love in I Feel It When, like, you list all of their names, and it's like that picture of like the white guys that
All twisted and summer fun.
there's also like exactly. There's a guy who I particularly detest called Nathan who went overseas on a very similar trip to this, and that was meaningful to me.
speaking of the worst characters in the story, the one I probably liked the most at, I was on the train back from the other day, and it's the one in the collection about the life coach.
Yes. Yeah. That's such a good game.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Somebody's head shaved and bumped. I felt bad. You said to close your eyes and I renounce all my possessions.
It's
I feel for that character.
beautifully written. Totally.
Wouldn't it be funny if you were like, the worst character was this person, and like Paul was like, that's a very autobiographical character.
But it's like a thing, everyone will like different stories more than others, like different characters. Sometimes people really like hate every character to like a really, really intense degree, and they're like, you fucking hate them too, and I'm like, no.
I don't get hating or loving characters. Like, it's not the way I read books. Like, I don't really care.
You're not a first year undergrad?
I don't think there was any, I don't think there was any, story in which I did not feel more than a small amount of empathy for the situation that these characters have found themselves in.
Yeah, that's because you're a tenderqueer.
Yes. But I have big muscles, so actually more of a hard queer.
Watch out, ladies.
Watch out.
You're very empathetic.
I'm very
Yeah, me on the other hand.
Well, you're a Thatcherite, so there's no empathy there.
Yeah, there we go. Here we go.
I'm sorry.
There maybe exceptions to that is an MFA story. I don't know if that was like autobiographical or not.
I love that one. That was so good.
It was great. The ending kind of scene where Cindy's doing his pedicure. I think it's kind of it's very relatable to be able to feel like very ashamed of the luxury that you demand from your lives. Not that this person deserved it necessarily.
Well, I think it's just the truth of all of these things, which is that everyone's luxury is always predicated on someone else's exploitation. And they might be exploiting themselves, or the characters might get exploited, but they're also not necessarily the most exploited people in the vicinity of the story. And also I think sometimes there's like, especially with writing, I think there can be a really large amount of sort of like narcissism about how much power the writer has or how important the writer is, when for most people they're like living their lives and dealing with pretty real shit. And I think that that's particularly interesting even with the sort of structure of the MFA or the creative writing program and how they can kind of exist in cities. And even as students, often student housing is like moving other people out of that housing or sorts of things. But that's, it's pretty heavy. But I think that, often the stories will sort of skirt on these things, or it's like, how does someone live in luxury as an expat in Dubai when the entire city is being built by an underclass of migrant workers?
Fantastically, obviously.
Well, depraved.
No.
And it's like, I think there's a lot of sort of depraved things about wealth. Everyone sort of likes it and you sort of want it, but it always has a cost that often you don't even have to pay, someone else does.
Or as like, isn't the short stack story, someone has to pay a debt at some point, whether it's metaphorical or actual.
You have so many scenes of like extreme kind of material trash. I think it was in the cat story, the cat story. But I know it started to notice, was it the cat story? Or maybe it was the middle story, the one with the woman at the call center.
Yeah.
And she describes like buying a fuckload of expensive food when she can't afford it because she's just like, I have to like self-soothe. And then I was like, oh, this is like a through. Like a lot of the stories have this like you. It's kind of like you're doing like a George W. Martin like food sequence where you're describing like this sumptuous, luxurious food that these people eat, but it's kind of in a succession hue of like, this is ugly, like this is gross, like it's very pleasing. It's very
It's a negative sublime.
negative sublime. No, thank you. It's the way to
Postmodern sublime.
Metamodern. Yeah, well, like I think it's like the collection's like really focused on money, and it's like it's you know it's political in certain ways of what it's talking about, but maybe it's not in the way of people would use the term now to mean like, oh, it's a Netflix special. Does X, Y, Z. And I think it's also about also kind of like acknowledging how complicated those things are, because the characters want all of these things, and it's their fault for wanting them. And some of them are beautiful things. Like I quite like, you know, fashion and clothing, and they can be these kind of beautiful and sumptuous things, and I think that everyone should have access to beauty, but a lot of the times people are wanting things that are completely outside of their realm of attainability, and that's most likely due to like them being irradiated with mass culture like every point of time.
the last story of the actress where she leaves her family for this role. I don't really want to say that. Yeah, the legal drama that's going on.
Yeah.
But and she's kind of, you know, she does the last line of the book. I fucking hate this place. But when she leaves her family, like despite that being like the one thing that might actually like center her, calm her down, she can't let go of this kind of dream of a life that she. That's been taken away from her.
I'm good.
Kind of forgot what I was saying, but not to dox my ex-boyfriend. Hey, he was an actor, and he left my birthday party like 10 minutes before it was meant to start for an audition.
Oh god. Did he get the role?
No. No, he did not.
I mean, if he got the role, all is forgiven.
Yeah.
As long as Daddy's bringing home the cash, that's all it matters.
Well, it's really actually it's really hard because it's sort of that thing, and it's almost like this really twisted, like Pavlovian response, which is like every audition could be the thing that irrevocably changes your life, even if materially none of these auditions will change your life. But there's that possibility, and I think it's also an interesting thing that I actually think everyone's work is starting to move towards being an actor or being an artist, where it's like all of us are our own sort of like self-managers, and we have to, you know, take every opportunity that's available to us, but normally what that means is we have no safety net, no accrued capital, and it's just the next thing, and at some point it's going to be better. But it's like almost every form of work now is becoming more and more like an artist or an actor or someone who works in fashion, and that's like not what it should be anyway whatsoever.
No, it was terrible. It was so bad.
But at the same time, you can't just be one thing. Like, you've got to do all these other things. Like,
Well, you have to be like.
you have to be a podcaster.
Well, the main thing with the
Well,
modern,
I don't have to, but I love it.
the main thing is the modern neoliberal economy, which I love. Like just to emphasize that we don't denigrate the free market on this podcast.
Of course, but we
We
wouldn't have this discussion if it wasn't for
we
it.
never would. We're just like subtly we critique from love. Right? But it's precisely like the emphasis is placed upon the individual, right? And whereas in previous like versions of economic ideology, you would sell your skill or you'd sell your ability to do something. Now it's that you have to sell yourself as
your whole self.
right? And it's like it has to be the image of yourself that you cultivate online, with your LinkedIn profile or whatever it is. Your social media profiles are, like pseudo job interviews, like to a certain degree, right? Or whatever it is. Like it's your personable qualities that can help you get a job. Or that's what they say. And it's like what to cite the obvious person, Foucault. Right? Foucault calls that the modern economic subject is homo. Is it a homo? It's homo economicus, right? And like all of these characters, I think, in some way are they're individuals in a system that they don't quite understand how to deal with, and they have certain desires that they believe will make them happy, make them give them pleasure, or they do whatever it is. But they almost always, even when they, I feel like every character here gets what they desire, and it's not what they want.
Do you feel
Right?
like because you really love the short story.
Yeah.
It's like almost every single other character in this has the capacity to and like the means to like actually succeed quite easily, except that guy.
Yeah.
Except that guy.
I think the life coach guy doesn't. But,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I think with him, I don't know, like I actually think with him there's almost a possibility, which is at the end point in the story when he's at his lowest, if he did actually go to the monastery, he would actually probably do a lot of good for him, but he doesn't, that's not the road that he takes. He chooses this like anti-demonic version of the same thing. And I think sometimes there's a thing that I actually think some of the characters even are kind of like aware of this fact. But they actually are kind of almost possessed, that they can't actually break themselves out of that behaviour, or if they did, what would that change in their
Well, that's the
lives?
saddest part about the story about the again, character names completely gone. But the actor character who like he wants to be famous, he like spends half his time like at karaoke gigs because he's mistakenly gone to Queensland or wherever it is, thinking that he might be able to get a job there, and the place is like turned into some sort of like apartment complex instead.
Oh my god!
And the ending of that story is like perfectly emblematic of that, because it's also one of the few stories that's written in the first person that's also in the past tense. So he's reflecting on the fact that this has happened to him, and it doesn't seem like he's really changed, even like the way he's like recounting the story. And the last like few lines in that story, I won't spoil it, but like it's like I'm gonna put on a show, right? Like I will use my talents.
Reminded me of a Black Mirror episode.
Yeah, but I feel like a number of these sort of stories.
In brackets, complimentary.
I think that the interplay between like what a character knows, what a character does with that knowledge, is like the main thing that sort of makes a number of these stories like really interesting. I think because that's like it's what like a lot of like people that we all sort of know are. It's like how much like there's a certain degree of like you feel pity for a character who doesn't have the capacity to know the situation they're in, and then you feel sort of just like sad for characters who do know that they're in a situation and they'll keep making the same mistakes anyway, even though they like I mean, like I feel like we all sort of know people who are like that, right? And you see them like spiral out of control. And what's annoying is that they know what it is they should be doing to get out of that. They know what the problem is, but they'll continue to do the thing anyway. And it's like, what do you do with that?
But it's also that thing of like, I wonder, not to be like too dark or bleak.
Oh, don't worry.
But
Let's go there, Paul. Come on.
But if the characters did change, how much could they change in their position?
Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's almost like the four humans. Sometimes, someone might have a bit too much of one thing.
Speak my language. You don't need astrology, you don't need psychology, it's all about the four humans. It maps onto everything.
Absolutely.
But, you sort of, for example, in the cat story, so I hate not explaining the story, but the main character in that story, Emma, seems pretty aware of what the problem is of her situation, but there's actually no real way that she can sort of do it or do everything. And there's like a poster, I don't know, I find this funny, maybe it's a bit gauche to say what I find funny, but there's a poster in her like shared communal office that is like, the future of art is female.
As like 4 men here, we're allowed. The future is female, baby.
No, but it's more of like what.
Yeah.
All of these statements, I think we're often using a lot of this sort of really empowered language and this kind of marketed advertising.
Could you call them bad artist statements?
Could. But sometimes you wonder like. I often think about, our economic system often is accelerating. After COVID, things actually got a lot worse in terms of like income inequality, and there are changes of government, but sometimes it reminds me more of like when you would play like an old video game on the PC, like you're playing like Elder Scrolls Morrowind, but you could get a mod and the game would look totally different, but it's still the same fucking game.
I think there may have been a writer we looked at a few episodes ago, this guy called, he wrote this book called The Leopard, and in The Leopard he says something like, you change everything and things stay the same. You change everything just like slightly enough to make people think that you've changed things. It's a bit better if I had the fucking
we must
quote.
change in order to say the same.
Yeah.
Did you watch the film?
I watched bits of it, I didn't get to see the whole thing. Apparently it's really good.
It is really good.
It's one of those things where we definitely could have, but we didn't.
It's very long.
Yeah.
But it's very good.
Like, I tried to get I found an Italian copy of it, and like, my Italian's not good enough to it didn't have subtitles, so my
I think
Italian.
Alice is the only one who actually watched that film.
Yeah, she fucking loves that film.
It's really great. All of Visconti's are like incredible.
That's made by Pasolini.
What?
Pasolini?
No.
No.
But they were sort of like contemporary.
Yeah, some Italian guy.
We need to do a Pasolini episode, actually. Do his poetry.
We should do like a big
film.
film episode. Just like, we should do like some Tchaikovsky or something, something like
In
that.
Antonioni.
Antonio.
Actually, I know who. By the way, I know who we get for a Tchaikovsky episode too. Actually,
Who?
Christina Tudor-Sideri.
If you do Tarkovsky, can you like also watch George Clooney's Solaris?
I've never seen it. Is it bad?
I actually don't even fucking remember. It's like
It's not good.
in my
It's,
mind.
but, I mean, particularly as a comparison to the actual.
Tarkovsky.
Yeah, the director with that
Base.
sci-fi Stanislav Lem novel called Solaris.
It's really
it's like a head fuck. The movie is really incredible, and it's like this kind
I
of
really,
It's like.
really dislike George Clooney. I like avoid
No.
him.
He's not in that. He's in a remake that was made,
okay.
like
So
decades later.
Tchaikovsky's like a Russian Soviet director.
Okay.
Yeah, very like opposite of George Clooney.
Beautiful.
Exactly. Probably the as opposite you can get to George Clooney. Did you like it? It's good.
It did taste like a shot.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna have one.
Is there chocolate in an espresso martini?
No, but it's sort of like the oranginess and coffee's close enough to chocolate, I guess.
Like there's what is like blood orange and like rum.
Maybe we should order around at 4.
Let's do it.
I think we should.
I thought you hated espresso martinis. Though.
I do, but I like when I love Jaffa.
Just the drip. Yeah, just the drip.
I could drink that. I'm tired. I like was walking. You know, like when you're walking all day around the city when you're being a tourist.
Yeah.
You're like,
It's him again, isn't it?
It's not fucking Woody Harrelson.
He's followed us here.
I love. When we all went outside, when you went to the bathroom, we were talking about you behind your back, and then Matt was like, he thinks it's Woody Harrelson. That was Ruben. Love him.
Me or Woody Harrelson?
You.
Oh, thank you.
The young Woody Harrelson, toss up.
Natural Born Killers.
When I realized that was him, I was like, but I was, because, you know, Ray Liotta died today.
He was only 67.
I know.
I expected him to be way older for some reason.
Yeah.
I thought he would be in his 80s or something.
If it's sort of like, you know, you expect him to be the same age like De Niro or something.
Yeah. So my Ray Liotta memory is a rom-com with Whoopi Goldberg called, I think it's called Corinda. I'm gonna look it up right now.
That sounds like the made-up Seinfeld movie, Rochelle. An erotic journey from Milan to Minsk.
Karina, which is like in the grand tradition of like 80s/early 90s like movies. It's like about a white woman. Sorry, a black woman falling in love with a white man and like her daughter.
She did another movie like that with Ted Danson, didn't she?
I absolutely.
Could we get? Do we all want?
Yeah.
Yeah, with the spice.
Could we get the 4 of the espresso martinis?
Yeah, the spice rum and orange.
Yeah.
You got that.
She's got you clogged.
Is what?
She's got you clogged.
And we know you're here from. We know. Do you have much? Have you been? Like, are you a Gold Coast person? Have you been there very much?
Been there a little bit, not a huge amount, but I sort of know what it. Yeah.
You know what it's like.
Yeah,
You know what
it's
it's
like-
like.
You don't need to be there long to know the vibe.
There's a lot of places that have a very like Gold Coast energy, like Tampa, Florida, kind of has that. I think
You've been to Tampa?
I have been to Tampa.
Why?
It's
It's the place to be. It's the place to be.
Because he read the book and so we had to go.
No, Tampa has a sister city, St. Petersburg, and I went to this really
Russian
intense
St. Petersburg,
surgeon
or?
there. No, it's in Florida. Anyway, I went on a medical trip.
A medical trip?
Well,
You don't have to say that.
yeah, it's like I used to have like when I was in my early 20s, I had like chronic pain for 6 years, so I went in this like I don't know, medical odyssey and stuff, like all this stuff.
A journey, a pilgrimage,
Yeah.
Oh wow.
spiritual.
It's an odyssey, really.
Yeah.
The
I
Jack
think you're right.
Kerouac's house in St.
Oh,
Petersburg.
nice. Actually, yeah, I know about St. Petersburg because I was going to apply for residency.
Yeah, the Kerouac house.
Yeah. But then I was like, it's too late. I couldn't put anything
Still
together.
counts. Still counts.
Can I?
It's like every year or something.
Oh, okay. Maybe I will.
You can probably hang out with Ginsberg and the Fanboy Love Association.
Hey, that was the joke that I was gonna make. I'll join you.
We had a real Nambla
Yeah,
stand.
we're all now stand. They were misunderstood, and they continue to be misunderstood.
It's the love that dare not speak its name, as we spoke about in the last episode.
Absolutely. Our squad holds up well, everybody.
Yeah.
Nothing to critique.
For some, like, this is particularly funny given the ending of the story. But for some reason, until the end of like an MFA story, I had the narrators like in my head. I thought they were a woman. Like it wasn't until the scene where like you said like, oh yeah, he's like cocks out. Wait, what? I don't know why. Like all the other stories are like, but that one in particular, and I feel like it's, of course, that'd be that one that I would actually make the mistake.
I was thinking about the gender of that, about what it being a man meant, because I think for most of the story, it could literally, it could be anybody. But like with it, for a woman, it would be a little. I wonder, like, if her agency in that situation might have been called into question a bit more.
Well, I think it was particularly like I go back and reread it, and it's because like the character ends up doing like sort of like removal work kind of thing for like what do you call it, like
whatever it is,
cleaning out
like
so you're talking about the MFA story. Sorry, I'm talking about Gold Coast story. Ignore me. I was doing Gold Coast story.
And like I feel like that was like particularly like sort of odd that I didn't pick up on that. I was like, I was thinking like in my head like it's an interesting choice. And I thought it was like this works as a comedic thing. Okay.
No, I always saw that as a name.
Yeah. I think it's because
the for me it was like it's a certain type.
Yeah.
Like and it was like I just clocked the faggotry of it because it's like you know, I've got no money. I might start.
I'll just start escorting.
I
can do that. I'm like kind of like if I like turn this way.
Taylor's oldest.
I thought that could be a particular like kind of girl. I don't know. I don't judge.
Yeah, no, girls these days just do OnlyFans and like just show a nipple and that's it.
That's kind of like what I was.
Yeah, like it could be either. To me, it's like very specific that it's a guy. That that thing of like going on Craigslist or something. I don't think that's like just.
Well, I mean, that should have tipped me off. I think a bit more than it did.
Yeah.
But I think it was also partly because most of the other sort of like MFA type characters that have already sort of been in the story, notably the woman in the call center who's the world's worst poet, and then the
poem slab.
Yeah,
she's great.
And then Emma from she's not like a writer, but she's an artist. Right? So I think I'd expected it to be a woman because of that as well. So maybe it was just like the structure of the collection itself. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Because normally there's always like something in like an opening that will somehow like signal.
There probably is, but the fact that like I didn't get to it until like his cock's out.
I don't know. It could mean anything.
Yeah, it could be anything.
Do we want to talk about something that's not the book? What is it? Do we want to like? I don't know.
Expand into something else? Would you like to talk about something?
No.
What's on your mind, Paul?
Nothing.
Yeah.
What have you read recently?
Have I read? I read Gary and the Other's Fire Season, which was really good. Really good. I love Gary and the Other. He's an incredible writer. So it's like it's like a gay writer who was sort of, I don't know, he always hated comparing himself to like the scene of the 70s, but he's lived this sort of really incredible life where he was in different parts of America at pretty intense times. So whether that was like being in his 20s in like Berkeley when it was like psychedelics and like dress in drag, but it's like this like legal secretary and like run the board. He starred in a lot of art house movies in Europe, then was a Village Voice art critic for a period of time, and then wrote just this sequence of incredible novels, including this crime trilogy that Semiotext recently republished, which is Resentment, which is probably my favorite novel ever. I think it's a masterpiece. 3 Month Fever, which is the story of Andrew Cunanan, who
great.
famously killed Gianni Versace, and then also Depraved Indifference, which is on. I can't recall the con woman's name, but it was about a series of cons and murders. But they're just great.
What's his name?
Gary, Indiana.
Gary.
So like the city.
Oh no, he's named after the city. Oh.
No, well, his real name is something else, but he changed it to like to a non-defined.
Gary, Indiana is Michael Jackson's hometown.
Oh really?
It's also like completely destitute. Like it's like a ghost city. I looked
It's a really famous string of murders.
Yeah.
The Strangler.
Yeah. And God, sorry, I was like, why do I know Gary, Indiana? There's a really good documentary on YouTube about Gary about why it's just like a cesspit of sadness and crime. And it's right next to like Seattle. So there's this like very intense dichotomy of like city that still is existing and city that is dead. Anyway, interesting.
Well, it's like
You don't want to offend our American listeners.
Yes, I do.
Well, the essay collection's just really, it's just really incredible because it follows his writing for years, and some of the pieces are him like, one's like a dispatch from like Euro Disney outside of Paris, and it's really sort of incredible, and it's him like walking around like sort of trying to talk to the staff, but there are like security men everywhere, and then he sort of is like flirting with one of them. There's this entendre. It's really, and at one point there's almost like the sort of yellow vest. There's this morning that he wakes up and there's this sort of like stench of like burning rubber in the air, and these farmers to protest some kind of tax treaty or something are burning
Damn right.
an entire tractor, and he can sort of see it from his window, and the photographer who's with him sees it. And then he tries to like walk there on foot because it's like, the most exciting thing that's sort of going on. But at every point it's like going through checkpoint after checkpoint and him being turned around and moved around. Anyway, incredible collection. It's really, really great. Christian Lorenzen does the introduction.
Say no more. Friend of the podcast, Christian Lorenzen.
I was thinking about that. What qualifies as friend of the pod? So,
who-
like,
who are the
obviously Paul does because he's been on the pod. But is it just people who've been on the pod, or
No,
like,
it's people I
networks
usually
of
bring up.
networks?
Yeah.
like because like there needs to be like a podcast like Nicene Council where like this is decided. Like what is a friend of the pod?
I think if obviously guests, that's goes without saying. But then I think it's if they've been mentioned by one of us more than 2 or 3 times.
So Sally Rooney is a friend of the
She's a friend of the podcast.
If we ever have her on, we're like, hey bestie.
Yourself is.
But in a very Nicene way, as someone who is not a member of the podcast, I must object.
But
I'm sorry. We'll do a group hug with you too.
I think that
How many friends of the pod are on the head of the pin?
I think friend of the pod, as someone you bring up, is an ironic friend of the pod, whereas a friend of the pod is probably a guest or friends of the people in the podcast that are somehow in its orbit. No?
Yeah, no.
Maybe, yeah.
Although, to be fair, if Joshua Cohen is listening,
Lover of the pod.
Yeah, Pulitzer Prize.
Ruben will bottom for you.
I will, just as that Vice man did, I will introduce you to Australian bathhouses. It's okay, I'll figure something out.
Pulitzer Prize winning Joshua
Pulitzer
Cohen.
Prize winning. The oddest Pulitzer Prize winning offer I can imagine in the last 15 years.
How elastic friend of the pod is, because it's that really terrible thing where the expression can be someone you've met once at a party, they're a friend of mine.
Well, I feel weird saying it. If it's someone I don't know, but who has just been, likes our posts or something. I don't think I ever have, but it would have to be someone who's been on, I guess.
Shout out to the people who have I've had 15 people, 20 people follow me in the last 2 weeks who have two people. I think they follow like River and like someone else. Who's like clearly listen to the podcast. But they don't even follow the podcast.
You've been inducted into the homosexual Marxist agenda.
I could like 15% of my followers are now homosexual Marxist agenda.
Yeah, there we
and keep following me. You'll be converted.
He's gonna Hayek kill you. He's gonna Hayek kill them.
Absolutely.
But anyone who listens to the podcast is a friend of the podcast in my mind.
Everybody's.
It's the bad art friends.
It's a holistic title, you know. When you know, you know.
I do think there needs to be conceptual boundaries, though. That's all I'm saying.
Don't be so.
We live in the age of concept creep, baby.
I don't believe in boundaries. I'm anti-boundary. As the leftist.
But it's a free market. It's not a. It's not a regulated.
As the capital L is.
I think it's been settled.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know what's been settled on, but it's been settled. We're now at Prudence. Yeah, it's also in North Melbourne. It's just a bar. I didn't really realise there was like a reason for us to pick places. It just seemed to be the most.
I'm just asking the hard question.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a bar in Melbourne. It's cool. It's fine. Yeah.
What is the truth?
It's really cute. It's really random. It's just like in its face.
It's very random. You're not getting the full effect. It's more of like the smokers area in Prudence that like a few years ago actually like immolated in a really large fire that was pretty. The entire thing burned down, and I think it was like a gas canister that exploded or something. It's pretty wild. Yeah.
Every time I've been here with Paul, he's always made a beeline to the smokers area. We always go out there.
No, because it's the locus.
Was it too full?
It's the locus. It was too full. It's like the locus of social activity or see someone.
I was saying this before. Like I like the smokers area and I like smoking because it's more social.
I've always like made the argument that smoking is less social because you're constantly going outside. It's like a different. No, but I thought going outside was bad because when you're staying inside, you're dancing and you're chatting. This is just a
chat because you can't hear.
No, because you're having an embodied socialization.
You're chatting with body language.
You're chatting with body, exactly. There we go.
But like you can dance the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like you need like ups and downs. You need to move.
No, I don't go down. I just go up.
Whereas I only go down.
Yeah, there we go. I'm just making an academic reaction.
We're not going to have academic words in this podcast.
I'm creating a dialogue, an antithesis.
Have you ever read something that's got that stuff, like that body language stuff in decline? That kind of like grabs that?
I don't know.
Something does me. I'm trying to remember his name.
It's a particular short story in a certain person's collection.
He doesn't want to talk about the book anymore.
No, I don't know. It's a German name, and I'm very bad at pronouncing German. Right now, Reynolds Goetz' Rave.
Yes.
Really
It's
incredible book of the club. Just like
published by Fitzcarraldo.
fucking an incredible book. Just brilliant. And it really, and also this like profusion of like techno subcultures in Berlin, and everyone has like everyone has like a different techno magazine, and they're all like sort of fighting with each other, and it really gets those like, you know, hours in a smokers section just like talking like frenetically and then dancing and hanging out. I think that's
Friend of the podcast, Max Easton's, the Magpie Wing is very good on that sort of like punk subculture. If you're listening, Max.
And he is listening. He is a listener.
He's listening, and also I have a long list of Miles Franklin. Friend to the podcast.
Podcast winning awards.
Wow.
Right? There was a friend of the podcast. Miles Franklin, short listener.
Miles Franklin, friend of the podcast.
Miles Franklin, I mean, you know, Nazi sympathizers, friend of the
Paul's totally gonna win something too.
Judy Davis is connected to this podcast. Judy, we love you. Come. She played Miles Franklin in My Beautiful Queen.
I know that.
trying to think what other books get the club. I think some of Mary Gateskill stuff does. I took it to a boring place now I'm back there.
So I'd love to read something because I don't know. I love dance. Like I love dance. I love it. I don't go to the smokers section. I don't want to talk to anybody when I go out. I just want to dance for hours.
Yeah, I like that.
Huh?
You just want to dance with somebody, you want to feel the heat with somebody.
Yeah, something like
Somebody who
that.
loves you.
Sorry, who are you quoting? What's that?
Music.
I've never heard that before. Yeah, I don't like my like break is like going to the bathroom to pee or to snort drugs. That's it. I don't talk.
For legal reasons, he means snort like the drinking stuff.
Yeah. Yep. I don't know. Isn't that interesting? Maybe that's. I'm gonna.
You all get on different drugs.
Yeah, all different. Like,
Coffee. We're just drinking coffee. We are different.
Why don't you just take sort of like Valerian?
Valerian wood.
Oh, you'll be 10 times worse.
I know. What's the point? Either that or it's like I have to do the worst drug just because I'm like
Something to shut you up.
whatever like fucking up the most. Whatever I'm like bad. What was the book?
Some drug fuck.
Talon's Trip.
No. It should be, it should be the opposite. It should be like the least drug fucked books you can think of.
Be like a Christian book.
Let's just do
The Left Behind books.
Pride and Prejudice.
Left behind. Oh no.
I did.
Did any of you go up Christian? I don't remember. Did you go up Christian?
I wrote Pathway.
Yeah, same here.
The way you
No,
wrote
but not culturally Christian. I mean, like going to church every Sunday Christian.
Well, Roman Catholic.
Like your parents were like strictly.
No, my one. Easter and Christmas. That's basically.
Yeah. I don't know. No, you have too much of a libertarian book.
Yeah. His family worships mammon. That's what it is.
Anyway.
I'm so sick that my name is Sugar Genesis. It's actually named after Kenny Rogers song.
Well, actually, it's kind of funny. None of us have none of my siblings have religious names. I don't know. Yeah, mine's Irish. 'Cause my dad loves Irish history and like was Irish 200 years ago or whatever. My sister's a French name. My brother's has a Hebrew name. I guess, but it's not Christian. Huh?
Biblical.
It's Jordan. Redact that. Redact that. No, but I was Christian in that I was gifted Left Behind books growing up, and have read several of them already.
I actually have seen a lot of the movies.
Okay, but yeah, but like they'd be really fun to watch while you're high. Imagine.
Yeah, a lot. It would be a lot.
I mean, have you seen the Nicolas Cage one?
Yeah.
I love Nicholas.
He does everything. He'll be like, yeah, I'll go to Christian Hollywood. Why not?
You know why he does it? Because he's got a lot of gambling debts. So that's why he literally does anything.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
In Minecraft.
He's been like pretty pulled back in the last.
No, what do you mean by pulled back? Because his prolific career has not stopped. He's been like 3 movies already.
I think he's been more discerning in his choices. Been more artistic.
I mean, he's doing a film about himself that's like, he's become like a ironic parody. Yeah. And he's embraced that. Like, even when he was in like adaptation.
That's how Bartleby Fiction's come. It's come from
The best. Have any of you guys seen Vampire's Kiss?
Yeah, I have. I love that movie. It's brilliant.
Talking about the filing, and it's like, put it in alphabetical order. A, B, C. And he just goes off, like goes through the entire alphabet in a classic, Nicolas Cage movie.
I think that's one of his best movies.
Yes, so good.
Incredible.
Someone's story.
You would do that.
I do like Nick Cage. I do like him. I don't like adaptation. I always thought that I would love Shirley Kaufman. I like the idea of Shirley Kaufman as opposed to the other. I think Meryl Streep is great in that movie.
Yeah, Meryl Streep's good. I'm not a fan of all the backlash.
She got a lot of backlash?
Well, just because she's like annoying at everyone saying like really people it's like shut up. Like just
the age gap in Hollywood or whatever.
yeah, that's
no wait.
It's like sometimes it's like, is someone really getting backlash, or is it just like some people being like patty on Twitter? Like that's
well, that's a form of backlash.
yeah.
It's like we hate no. She does seem to me to be overly studied.
Yes.
Like, I don't know much about acting, but like,
Well,
it's too what?
say much to know.
It's just, I never forget that it's Meryl Streep.
She is quite often the most vibrant person in the world. She's very good. We watched August Assange.
Yeah, it's so good.
I did watch that in anticipation.
She was great in it.
She's so everyone's good.
Even Julie Roberts, who I do not really like that.
No, but it's just like, it was very much like everyone went to that movie. Have you seen August Assange County? Oh,
You should watch
oh, you would fucking love it. You would love it. If you've seen the Nicolas Cage Left Behind movie, you'd love it. It's basically just like 10 Hollywood actors are like, what is the most melodramatic movie that we can find that we can possibly do? We all have accents. We're all like acting at 11 the entire time.
I'm intrigued.
We did an episode on it. It's the Castle of Colours.
Okay.
And you hate Castle of Colours.
No, I don't hate Castle. I don't hate Castle of Colours. I don't hate Castle of
I
Colours.
don't hate her, I just have issues.
No, I don't have any issues.
It's not your thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's great.
I'm intrigued.
It's based on a play, which seems like it's a great play too. I can see it staying.
The book is based on oh, absolutely, 100%. It all takes place in.
It's Sam Shepard.
It all takes place in one location. It's like you can see the actors moving on and off. It's so funny when we miss it. Have you seen the Summer Bus? I reviewed the Summer Bus series. That's the part. That's like the movie that like convinced me to move to Sydney.
Oh really?
Yeah. Once falling up with a botanic gardens gardener who was also a drag queen. Very romantic idea of what Sydney actually is. Sydney is not like that anymore at all. Okay.
I don't have any more
Do any more?
Sydney is the liberal hub.
What was that?
Sydney is the liberal hub. Like very much so in culture. Like I don't like it's very easy to get frustrated with the kind of like I don't want to go to Mardi Gras, I don't want to go to Pride if it's all corporate. Like, yeah, we get it, it's corporate. Like, I agree. There is actually something quite confectionery it's sickening about Sydney culture. It's so artificial.
As exemplified in the Sydney Gays podcast.
As exemplified in the Sydney Gays podcast.
Do you know about that?
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
I remember it, but I don't think I ever listened to it.
Maybe I should splice in a bit from their podcast.
Oh, we'd get sued. I'm pretty sure that one is a lawyer. But do it anyway.
My brain is so addled by the internet that I can't even. I remember the podcast
All of our
existed.
brains are
I vaguely remember a potential the podcast icon, the logo or whatever, but I have no recollection why people were talking about it.
Just to like.
It's because it was like a really sceney sort of podcast and it was super cringe. I think the reason it got so much backlash was that people saw themselves in it and hated it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's what they hate about it. A bit too close to home. Anyway, that was years ago.
Yeah. I don't know. I met one of the people on the podcast soon after I went to move to Sydney, and he was just really awful. And I'm 100% sure he does not mentally ill. And I don't know if it was awful in terms of actively being awful, or in terms of I want to be known in the Sydney scene, and you're not. I don't need to associate with you.
You're not gonna get me.
And I think there's an element of transaction in social relationships that isn't necessarily toxic. It's realistic. Realistically, if you want to be good at your career, or if you want to be known in a certain way, you must act in a certain way. And he was very much seems to be quite concerned with acting that way. It's really funny. It's really funny.
I just get very tired with scenes I don't know, they coalesce and they can sort of be interesting, or sometimes interesting things might happen to them, but it's things get clicky, there's this bizarre micro celebrity that's like a micro celebrity on the scene, and it just is so like, it's like, I don't know.
But they are kind of important. Like,
they're important.
This is something that Angela was talking about, which I sort of like saw the truth of that when she was talking about that, like, you need a community of people to make something generative. But like, when a scene is just about like partying and shit, and there's nothing coming out of it, like,
it's particularly it's
that's
like
when it gets like pointless.
there's a difference between like the New York scene and like
Times Square.
well no and like the Melbourne or Sydney sphere. Like it's depressing that Melbourne even has like a literary scene. Like it's not a.
Why is it depressing?
I don't know. I feel like it's like, what is the scene? Like, I mean, it's like.
What is it?
I mean, I know that it's transactional, but it's also like. I don't know. It's just banal and boring. And I think like scenes by definition almost like have to be banal and boring.
Is it?
Like,
I'm gonna go to all of the book openings so people will come to my book opening.
Yeah, like I go to like poetry readings or what, like fuck poetry readings.
I'll scratch yours.
Yeah.
I don't know though, like I don't.
I'm just cynical about all this.
I don't know. I think sometimes it's like. Sometimes I always think like I don't really like scenes, but when I think about them more and more, like when I think about what the scene is, it always seems like a very artificial thing that maybe in reality doesn't even exist. So it's like I think it can be easy on the outside, but it's like, you know, I have friends who have released books, I have friends who haven't released books, but it's like when I think about the people I know and the scene, is it like just talking about like one festival? Is it talking about festivals? Is it talking about books? Is it talking, what is it referring to? It's not as coherent. Whereas I think maybe sometimes when we see scenes, it's more like online people. I don't know.
Like traditionally, it's also like the scene is retrospective as well. It's like these people, we can look back now, happen to create decent work, and we can kind of clump it all together because they have like a through line of style or whatever it
And
is.
it's more about networks.
Yeah, well,
like this person knew this person, and that one was connected to that one.
It's like Niall Ferguson's.
And it's like I often, you know, feel anti-scenes because I think scenes can be very like artificial and fake, but then it's like when I think about people I'm actually friends with, they're all doing work and are actually doing like cool things or whatever.
It's also like, cause it's hard to like, in the modern like literary world, if you want to publish at all, you're part of a scene no matter what. Because it's already so tiny and small. It might not be like the scene, but like it's hard to avoid being involved in it in some way. Like whether like you might not be actively canvassing like a festival or whatever it is, but you're still somewhat involved, right? Like even if it is just like the people you know, the people you're friends with. It's more like what is the scene that's pushed in the media, to the extent that there is like anything pushed in the media anyway, right? Versus like what's just like the underground, or underground's not really, but
Subculture.
it's like, well, just not even subculture, like just the thing that like sort of happens like underneath the surface or whatever it is, like. My point being that I don't know how useful it is to even think of scenes to begin with. They're already by nature, or cliquey, or like they don't actually tell you anything about the work. And if what's valuable is the work itself, then the clique or the scene or whatever is just like some sort of abstract or artificial, as you say, like thing that helps people who don't actually give a shit about the work to understand the work, right?
I think bring back manifestos.
No. The only manifesto that we all want is the Libertarian Manifesto.
No.
The Freedom Manifesto for Literature.
Honey, no.
mean, as a piece of like art, sure.
I mean, I could do libertarian performance art, right?
Huh?
We could do libertarian performance art.
Sure. Oh, why not? You can do it seriously and I'll do it too. And we'll do it together.
Or I'll tongue your cheek. Yeah.
Threaten me with
a good time.
Anyway.
Yeah, but what they've done,
more manifestos.
Have you seen Manifesto, the Kate Manifesto?
No, I heard about it. Through osmosis.
It's very good. It's very, very good. I love it.
There's a new podcast called Manifesto. It's Jacob Siegel, who has the best voice in podcasting. Deep, gravelly voice. It's so good. And they talk about manifestos.
I think they should come back. I think it's terrible that Manifesto has done this with far-right-wing serial killers.
Has it?
I think it has. In public
Yeah,
consciousness,
probably.
the only time you ever hear about manifestos is some crazy guy in the internet writes 86 pages about his far-right, like, eco-fascism or some, like, how he has to kill black people because they're actually, trying to blah, 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 blah. Absolutely. I think it's...
Maybe I'll write one since I have an eco-fascist haircut, apparently. According to me.
It's just a gay haircut.
It's just
He said that.
I said it, but the alt-right guys had gay haircuts.
Yeah.
They did. They don't exist anymore.
That tells you something.
The alt-right scene is over. It's over. It's changed. Somebody used to be.
They've got really bad hair.
They used to be sexy, but now they don't have to be.
What happened to my boy Milo? Where is he?
Yeah, well, oh no, he was never sexy.
Well, now he's straight anyway, so...
Well, he's straight, but he has a black baby. So. Did he have a baby? Did he actually adopt him?
I have no idea.
He had a black...
Kept up with
He had a black husband.
He did have a husband, but he is straight now.
We've been
Yeah.
recording for hours. It's going to be released.
Yeah. This is the part of the podcast where we are actually drunk and are incoherent.
Goodbye.
Goodbye. We love you.
Everybody comes to Hollywood. They wanna make it in the neighborhood. They like the smell of it in Hollywood. How could it hurt you when it looks so good? Shine your light now. This time it's got to be good. You get it right now, yeah. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. In the air in Hollywood, the sun is shining like you knew it would. You ride it in your car in Hollywood. You got the top down and it feels so good. Everybody comes to Hollywood. They wanna make it in the neighborhood. They like the smell of it in Hollywood. How could it hurt you when it looks so good? I lost my memory in Hollywood. I've had a million visions, bad and good. There's something in the air in Hollywood. I tried to leave it, but I never could. Shine your light now. This time it's got to be good. You get it right now, yeah. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. There's something in the air in Hollywood. I've lost my reputation, bad and good. You ride it in your car in Hollywood. You got the top down and it feels so good. Hero 6 stations always play the same song. I'm bored with the concept of right and wrong. Everybody comes to Hollywood. They wanna make it in the neighborhood. They like the smell of it in Hollywood. How could it hurt you when it look so good. Shine your light now. This time it's got to be good. You get it right now, yeah. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 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 Check it out. This bird is flown. Shine your light now. This time it's got to be good. You get it right now, yeah. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. 'Cause you're in Hollywood. In Hollywood. In Hollywood. In Hollywood.
Push the button, don't push the button. Trip the station, change the channel. Push the button, don't push the button. Trip the station, change the channel.
Push the button, don't push the button. Trip the station, change the channel. Push the button, don't push the button. Trip the station, change the channel.